But as you work through your range construction, some of the things that you can be thinking about when it comes to width, maybe you can do just slightly less options than you normally would. It doesn't have to be the same that you've always done. Hone in on what you really need, what you really stand for, and prioritize those things. When it comes to depth, again, you can move to more of a sellout model perhaps than you have before. You know, it's very normal within retail to have some little remainders that move into a markdown cycle at some point. But you don't have to go that deep with your quantification. You don't have to put that many units behind something. You can sell out. You can create a little bit of FOMO and retrain your customers to getting in fast. And when they're trying to decide, am I buying this or that they need to buy this with you first, because it's not going to be there after that. So you can just pull back on that depth a little bit and be prepared to sell out. It's a little bit of a different strategy because often when you are a growing business, and it would be quite true for a lot of startups, when you're on that growth trajectory, you need to allow a little bit more stock to allow you to explore your potential of your sales at each next step. These circumstances, I think, are a little bit different, and rather than giving yourself that extra stock for the growth, it might be a little bit safer in the short term, you know, when things are just getting going again, to play a little bit more cautiously. Then when it comes to your size ranges, depending on, you know, whether you start at a 6 and go up to a 16, whatever that size range is that you service, it might be worth trimming the edges. So maybe you don't do those fringe sizes in your next collection, or maybe you don't do it on all of your styles. You know, maybe you always varied a little bit based on fit, but you can be a little bit more, again, discerning with what you include. And when it comes to your size curve as well, maybe you shift those a little bit and double down even more on your most popular sizes. So why I'm describing these things is because I'm trying to find ways to make your money work harder for you in the areas that it's really going to hit, where it's really going to matter, and knowing that, or assuming that the financial situation for most retailers going forward is going to be quite strained because they haven't yet released the cash from their winter buy, but they need that cash to buy their summer. I'm trying to find ways for you to need less money to still make that summer range get off the ground. Similar thinking around your colors, you know, maybe where you previously might have offered 4 colors, maybe 3 will do it. And also be conscious of trialing newness and not going too over the top with things that are unproven, because it's not going to be a good time to be left with overstocks when you've just relaunched and when everybody's out there being excited about the shopping experience for the first time in a long time. It's just not a great time for you to have missteps and too much unproven colorways and those sorts of things in your offer. Some businesses also might be offering sort of more fringe products. So maybe you have some intimates that you include in your offer, or some footwear or some accessories. If they're non-essential to your brand position, you might want to just drop them off for the moment. If they're a little bit more high risk, certainly footwear can be a tricky one because it's just bulkier, but also because it tends to be more size intensive. Those products that are very size intensive are stock hungry, because in order to offer them and actually get any real return on them, you need to, you know, you're not going to sell just one of each size. You still need to bulk them up, but there are more sizes, and so they attract more of a stock investment. So some of those things where you know they're size hungry, if they're not absolutely critical to your business, you know, maybe do less of them, or just drop them in the short term and you can pick them up again later. Other ways to de-risk your range, again, to play a little bit safer in the seasonality space. So a little bit more trans-seasonal type offers, a little bit less of a commitment to the extremes, and prioritizing your core or your basic product, you know, with your dollars and with your communications, really making that, it's still going to be what you stand for. It's still going to be true to your brand. You don't want to be just so vanilla that you stand for nothing. But within the context of your own range, focus in on those things that are a little bit more evergreen, that if they don't take off at the rate you thought initially, that they're not going to be a burden from a stock point of view. And of course, you can always actively look for ways to re-merchandise older stock to give it new life. And I touched on that before, drop in a new colorway and see if you can freshen it up there. So those are some of the things from a stock management perspective and a ranging perspective and trying to spread your dollar further that other businesses are doing at the moment and that you can think creatively around.